about some of the things I've noticed that go into practicing and using your ear. And I was working on this really beautiful piece by Granados Oriental, and so what I really noticed is that so much of how we play, and especially when we've really worked a lot on a piece and we want to perform it, so much of what we end up with is a combination of how we want the music to sound, and then also just what feels comfortable and what feels secure. And so when we're practicing, there's kind of this combination of the objective and subjective approaches. We ultimately want to be able to focus on the sound and the music and enjoying that. So all the technical manipulation that we do should complement that. You know, so sometimes, like I said, we need to look at the music in an objective way, thinking about how can we practice maybe this accompaniment figures, or just what kind of textures are important, or what the functions of certain voices are, and how to create a feeling maybe of an ensemble, or even just indications that are in the score that the composer has given us. You know, it's even before you learn something, you might look at a section or even a couple measures, and you already have ideas of how you'll probably need to practice it, or just in general some of the tricky things that probably characterize this particular passage. And that could be as simple as just having continuity to the line. But other times we need to think more subjectively, and so that's just could be really trying to narrow down your focus and find a firm grip on what is the sound that you want, or even just the emotions, and see how your body naturally tries to react to that. But one of the tricky things that comes with this kind of practice is it's that a lot of times we have to play things differently than we're ultimately going to be playing them by the end. You know, and that can be like practicing some figure in 10 different ways. You know, this could also be the fun part of practicing, is that because you're manipulating things in so many different ways, it's really because you want this to complement your ability to use your ear and your experience of playing the piece towards the end. And you know, moreover, I find myself sometimes injuring myself with this kind of technical work, because what can happen is that you come up with 5 different ways of practicing, but by the end there's no musical intent to it. And so you have really nothing to ground this kind of technical work in. You know, even if that's something as simple as practicing staccato, or practicing emphasizing the strong beats or the pulse, or even breaking down the harmony and looking at the harmonic analysis and trying to find the implications, the emotional implications of some of that. So really trying to still focus on enjoying practicing in some of these different ways, it's really going to pay off, because you're providing that kind of musical context to that, and just that more natural experience. And I think this is why it can sometimes feel so difficult to play something right after you finish practicing it, because you've had such intense work. You've been working your body so much, and your mind needs time to refocus on the musical aspects. Basically, you got to recalibrate your focus. And so this is why it's good also to take breaks while you're practicing. A lot of people say that every 20 minutes you should get up, or even just breaking your practicing into smaller sessions throughout the day, to give yourself time to refocus. You know, and another important thing I want to mention about the kind of practicing we do is that it's I like to think of it like we're trying to cover the bases and do the groundwork, and we're taking all these preliminary steps to really work on these contributing factors that are going to help us in the long run. So it could be something like, even you realize that you want to study more artwork from that time period, or look at different paintings, or study the history of what was going on during these pieces, or what was going on in the composer's life. Or even thinking, because of the way that this passage is written, you might want to try out a couple Czerny exercises, or create your own technical exercise that you want to use, because you realize that that's really going to help in the long run. It's just like before you plant the seeds in your garden, you have to think about the materials that you're going to need to gather, and you have to find suitable ground, make sure that there's fertilizer, you got to make sure that the terrain is going to be appropriate for what you're trying to plant, and there's going to be enough water circulation, and it's going to have a good location for the sunlight. And so these are all things that people have to think about before they're even able to plant the seeds of their garden. And so that's part of the fun thing of, almost you could say, behind the scenes of what goes into learning a piece. And it's just like Claudio Arrau said about a very great pianist. He said to his students, he always recommends you have to overcome these technical challenges that you find in the pieces even more than you think is necessary to overcompensate, because then you'll truly be able to experience the joy of performing and focusing again on the music after all this groundwork has taken place, and really explored all these contributing factors as you're really working towards a final product.